Hello guys, welcome back. The eye is actually pretty much better. It is still sensitive. I made the mistake of forgetting that there's a dark mode on YouTube, and I tried to watch it with that beautiful white background today. My eye was like, nope. So we're doing that. And I have been visiting my friend yesterday, and I know she must have known already before I did about the tragedy. And I realized, and Loki and I have been like discussing this back and forth, her way of dealing with a tragedy, and I feel bad for her because she's older, so this must be even of a more mystery to her. Um, she doesn't talk about it. Anytime a mass shooting happens, anytime like violent attack happens, her way of dealing with it is to not talk about it. She's aware of it, she's probably upset and scared about it, and I like to talk. I like to get the feelings out, but I realize that's usually the worst thing for her. I will try very gently, like, she just actually lost a friend and is going to the funeral today. Not in the shooting, but, it's still, it's hard for her to talk about anything that upsets her. Her way of dealing with it is she closes up and she doesn't talk about anything. Going back to the eye analogy, right? And I've learned to, respect that she needs her space and she needs to heal at her own pace and she needs to deal with things internally. I used to try, meaning very well, to get her to engage, but I could see it would upset her, so I try not to get her to engage. And, as we try to set the tone for the channel, we try to figure when's a good time to engage you guys to see if you need to talk about something and, like a national tragedy or a mass shooting or, natural disaster. And what is a good time not to, not to do anything. And there's no right answer for everyone. When you're dealing one-on-one with people and those people usually know the right thing to do, usually, and sometimes you don't. And the only thing I can say is we can't control the actions of others. I can't control what, anyone chooses to do. And I'm sure by now you guys are tired of the example of, we do have free will and people can choose to do whatever they want. Most thankfully, the vast majority of people choose to do decent things or at least self-serving things that don't hurt other people. There are always going to be bad people in the world. And what the rest of us can do is choose to help other people. Choose to be there. Obviously, as we found out the tragedy happened, we prayed for the people, we prayed for the victims, we prayed for the victims' families. We prayed for the survivors as well, because that's a trauma to go through. And, set up, say words and stuff around your town and community and just prayed for people to be safe. We have a lot going on in this world as it is. We don't need people running around hurting other people, but unfortunately that's a fact of life, and it's always been a fact of life since there were probably two humans. I heard just about. Um, but as Lokeans, we have the reputation for not caring, and some people probably think we're reveling in, everything that's happening, or they would blame Loki. It's not Loki's fault. It's not the fault of any god or goddess or any other being when people choose to do bad things. We all have free will. We've all lost our tempers. We've all got mad. We've all hated our jobs or whatever else is going on for, the person that chooses to do violent acts. We've all had problems with our families and everything else. But, we have to remember that we're responsible for our own actions. And so, the irony of the thing is every time I'm looking through games, because I try to still bring you guys games every once in a while, and with the eye being sensitive, I'm like, well, I'm probably not going to be doing VR for at least a couple more days, if not a couple more weeks. What do I bring you? At first I was going to take you on a tour and show you all 12 temples, but then the eye got hurt, so that's out of the question for a while. And then we're having the moral discussion back and forth because, Loki said, I gave you your eye back, I gave you the gods back, now you have to do something with it. Is it morally right to show you temples and to, for the gods that are traditionally gods of war and that have weapons in them? So we have these discussions back and forth because I'm like, well, for healthy people, they're going to see that and they're going to respect that. And they're going to know that's honor and respect for a god traditionally connected to war or whatever, like Odin has Gungnir and stuff like that. And every weapon he sees. But at the same time, we're like, well, we then had this philosophical discussion of, are the gods changing and evolving? Is this a bad thing? Are we just expecting this out of the gods because of the time and the culture they came out of? Should we now be treating them as more enlightened and capable of change? Only thing I can say is, provided it wasn't Loki being every god ever, Odin himself can certainly be Oski, and I like working with him in that capacity. He does have the temple for the Oski, you know, part of his nature. He does have Gungnir in there, but that's like the only weapon. It had been more weaponized temple, and we had just naturally, as we started going into gift giver mode, it just didn't seem right to have 15 billion weapons around. Not that they were evil or bad, but it's a more peaceful path. It's still a path capable of defending himself and defending others. But, as the temple evolved into that Oski thing, and it looks like Yule 24/7, and apparently he's happy with it, and it hasn't driven him insane because I didn't put the Christmas music on. He's okay with it. And I'd say we have to do what our heart says is right, as sappy as that sounds, and we have to do what seems right. If we think that it's right to honor them in the traditional way the gods are seen, that's one thing. And if we think it's right to honor them in a more peaceful way, because we're like, well, there's enough violence in the world now, we don't need to be encouraging things, we need to do that too. As Lokeans, especially, I've told you guys before, even though I go through my grumpy phase and say I'm chaotic neutral, we have to have a higher moral standard, and we do. Everything we do gets judged, and people think that because of a few bad examples that we're all chaos and we're all destructive, and they don't want to listen when we say, no, actually I volunteer, or actually I give all my Bing points to charity, which is what I end up doing, or we do this, or we pray for people, or we ward our towns, or whatever. People don't want to hear that, but we have to, you don't have to brag on it either, but you do have to have a higher moral standard as a Lokean. And Loki and company have been giving me trouble for all the gods because I had decided in my own heart that I had to fight for it. I had decided that I couldn't just have it handed to me. I had to fight for it. And Loki just crossed his arms and looked at me and said, we're done fighting. And I don't know if I said this recording, but he said, I gave you your eye back. I gave you your gods back. Now you do something with it. So we've been having those discussions, and he's been being pretty good. Pretty good. He's making a little mischief. His new game is, have that books on tape for the blind. And his new mischief is he loves playing with that machine. And I will be sitting here doing stuff, and the machine will go on. At first I thought, well, maybe I have this broken machine, maybe I didn't store it right or something. No, the tape turns on, and it will turn on just when I get up in the morning or something else. Like, he's playing with the cats. And he's having fun. He's having fun, and we're actually working our way through what are we listening to? The Cat Who Moved Mountains. It's one of those mysteries where people that write hard-boiled mysteries hate them because nothing too much ever happens, and I've never really taken a liking to the main character. There's just something about him. I just don't like him. He's kind of the old-fashioned character that people would think twice about today, where he's very het, and he likes all the ladies, and all the ladies like him. Oh, please. And he has 2 cats, and that's like the main draw, the only reason we're watching it, because the cats are smarter than he is. And he always stumbles onto these murders, and he somehow bumbles his way through them, and the cats have to help him. And I've never settled down into liking the character. He can be kind to his friends, he can be generous, but he also has that creepy alpha male, all the women love me vibe to him that I'm just like, ugh, yuck. There's ways to do that. Like, Loki's pretty sure everybody loves him. That's charming because it's part of Loki's nature, but this is kind of that old-fashioned kind of thing where it's just kind of like, ugh. Yeah, that turns me off. I'd rather see Jessica Fletcher. I like her novels. Anyways, um, we're doing what we can, and we've been, looking into stuff to bring to the channel, and it's probably gonna end up mostly being this, mostly me talking into the camera. I could probably switch to some casual games every so often for you guys, but until the eye's totally okay, no VR for me, obviously. I didn't have a doctor or anything say that. Dr. Loki said that. He's like, no, until the eye's completely okay, you're not putting that VR headset on. I don't know what it'll do to you. It's painful, like I said, if I go onto YouTube or I go outside without these glasses and the hat on, so I'm like, no. So, it'll take a while, but we'll get back up to normal. But we just wanted to make another video for you guys and to welcome the new patron. So we got a new patron, so that's always good. And, thank the patrons for your continued support. And, I hope you guys are having a good one, and we will see you later. Bye-bye.